Hello, and welcome to Superbwoman Sundays at 7. I'm your host, Janet Neal, the founder and Superbwoman and Queen Bee at the Superbwoman Incorporated. I'm so glad that you've joined us for our last show of the season. For those of you who are joining for the first time, I hope that if you enjoy this, that you go back and watch our old shows, which are on YouTube, The Superbwoman, and some of you might be able to hear them on our upcoming podcast. So tonight you are in for a big treat. Betsy Myers is my guest. But before we get to Betsy, let me tell you a little bit about myself and how I came to start this show. So Betsy and I were just talking about this before we got started. My life has been a circuitous path, let's put it that way. I have had a lot of different careers, and we don't have time for me to go into all of that. But the bottom line is this, that I have learned that the most important thing is to be true to yourself. I used to be a superwoman, one of those women who was all about do, 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 do. I had a 6-page to-do list of everything I was actually doing at one time. And I know a lot of you out there can relate to that. And may I just say that is a recipe for burnout. So now I like to say that I am a reformed superwoman. I'm a woman who lives a should-free life, or I have every intention of doing so. And I also like to call myself a superb woman. You know what the difference is between a superwoman and a superb woman? The bee. It's all about the bee. A superb woman is someone who has taken the time to step back and to understand who she is. What are her values? What are her strengths, her passions? And has taken that and has crafted and is living a powerful life as a result. I believe that women hold the answer to what is going on in this world today. When we understand how powerful we truly are. And I have met on my path women who do understand how powerful they are, this personal power, because they're comfortable in their own skin. They have taken the time to be, and now they're doing amazing things. And our guest tonight, Betsy Myers, is indeed a superb woman. Now, many of you have heard her name before or remember her from the Clinton administration, from President Obama's campaign, and now she is a founding director of the Center for Women and Business at Bentley University. Now, I came to know Betsy both from those things that I talked about, but I saw her speak last year at a women's conference. And I have this kind of bad habit of when I see a superb woman, I have to know her. I almost wanted to stand up in the middle of Betsy's talk and go, yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Because she'll share this story with you. She was speaking my language. She was such a beautiful example of what I'm talking about. A woman who is doing amazing things in the world, putting positive energy out there because she knows who she is. Because she has learned to say no. She has learned not to live by the shoulds. And she is doing what is right for her. So Betsy, I'm so thrilled to have you as my guest tonight.
Thanks, Janet. It's nice to be here.
So great to have you here. So Betsy, you and I were talking. So you started off selling insurance to women. And now I just talked a little bit about what you've done, but tell us how you went from there to doing all the amazing, powerful things that you've been doing.
Well, like you, right? It was kind of, you never have this like direct route. It's kind of, for me, it was like I started off, I always had one kind of true north. I would say my North Star was that I had great passion and interest for leadership and women in leadership. And so when I got out of college, I went to the University of San Diego and got a business degree. I ended up with Massachusetts Mutual Life Insurance Company in Los Angeles, selling insurance and financial services. And what attracted me to that career or business at the time was having my own business, because you kind of develop your own portfolio of clients, and specializing in women-owned businesses. And I got very passionate about supporting women entrepreneurs in, financial freedom, getting all their ducks in a row. And I realized that so many of my clients took care of everybody else, and they were the last to, put money in the bank to take care of themselves. So I became passionate, and I got very involved in the National Association of Women Business Owners, and I started speaking about this. And then when President Clinton became the president, there was a job that opened up at the Small Business Administration in Washington, and it was to run the Office of Women's Business Ownership. And at that time, there was the man who ran the SBA, President Clinton's appointee, was a man by the name of Erskine Bowles, who is very well known, and recently was with the Bowles-Simpson task force that President Obama around the budget deficits. Anyway, so Erskine wanted to appoint people at the Small Business Administration who had been business owners. And so through him, I took that position thinking I would just be there for a year or 2 years, put my business in Los Angeles on hold. And I loved it. It was my first time in Washington. I was so excited about what we were doing. And I was that job is kind of the spokesperson, the advocate for women entrepreneurs. And so one of the things I did was I traveled around the country speaking at many of the states, have a big entrepreneurial conference, women business owner conference. I did roundtables with women business owners, and I got very passionate about that topic. And at the same time, President Clinton and the First Lady, then Hillary Clinton, were wanting to start an office inside the White House to be an advocate to all the women on a variety of the issues, not just women business owner issues. And they wanted to pull from someone who was already in their administration. And so that led me to that position. And that was really, I think, a highlight for me in my life, a privilege to go inside the White House, help the President and First Lady create the first office. No other president had an office for women's initiatives and outreach.
Wow.
So it was really such a privilege to work with them. And basically the office did two things. It was on everything the president did on any issue, how did that impact women? So from increasing the minimum wage to welfare reform to all the things he was working on, as well as bringing to him issues that women cared about, everything from domestic violence, breast cancer, child care, poverty, women in business. And so I did that for a couple years. And then when the president won re-election with the women's vote, by the way,
right.
Clinton got re-elected with 17% of the women's vote, he went to legacy. And one of his big legacy issues was welfare to work, because he had passed with the Republicans the welfare to work legislation, or welfare reform legislation. And a piece of that was, how do we help women in poverty get to work? And so I went back to the SBA to spearhead an initiative where the SBA partnered with Health and Human Services to help women coming off welfare to get jobs. And at that time, the economy was doing so great. We forget that it was doing so great that small business owners are saying, we need more workers. So we paired up welfare, women coming off welfare to jobs in small business, and also helping some women create their own businesses. And so at the end of the Clinton administration, I was like, now what? And so then I went up to Harvard. Harvard Kennedy School has a wonderful mid-career master's program. And so I went and did that for a year, kind of thinking about, that's one of those standing in some ambiguity. What's next? What's next in my life? And what did I learn? What was I really good at and passionate about? Where did I need to maybe look at my skills? And I took classes, that in areas where I thought I needed to increase my skills. And I remember one of those was, a better understanding of budgeting. And then at the end of that, the dean of the Kennedy School and the head of advancement asked me if I would stay on and run alumni and external relations at the Kennedy School. And that's where also what I had realized from my time at Kennedy School was, wow, one of the things I wanted in my life was a child. And I was at the end of my 30s. And so that was really, for me, the epiphany of, wow, now's the time. And the good news was I also got married in 2000 to my current husband, and in 2002 our daughter Madison was born.
Oh.
And then right after that, I joined the Center for Public Leadership at the Kennedy School, working with my good friend David Gergen. And that's really where in my career I went from practitioner to really the academic aspect of leadership, and the good fortune to and privilege to meet people like Warren Bennis, who's one of the great leadership scholars of our time, and leaders like Jim Collins and Stephen Covey and Spencer Johnson, who moved our cheese, and Ken Blanchard. So that was really where, and I thought I was really in heaven at the Kennedy School. In heaven, I thought I would never leave. And then I got a call that Barack Obama was thinking about running for president, and would I be interested in being his chief operating officer? So I took this leap, and I thought we had been studying his leadership at the center. So I thought, and with David Gergen's blessing and support, what an opportunity to go and watch this leader up close. You know, one of the things I was so taken with was his speech in 2004, where at the Democratic National Convention, where he talked about, we're not a blue America, red America, we're one America. And, you know, he was my age, you know, multicultural, kind of this new thinking around leadership. So I went to be his chief operating officer, and what a privilege to, you know, in a new time, because it had been a decade since the Clinton White House experience, and wow, technology and social media and things were different. And so I got to kind of this up close, not only watch this new kind of candidate, but also be part of a campaign that did things so differently. And at the end of the at the end of the Obama campaign, we had this new amazing president, and I decided not to go into the administration. And everyone was so surprised. But I realized my daughter, who was then just 6, and my husband, I had been, you know, in this campaign for almost 2 years, that my family needed me. And I also wanted to get back to leadership. And I didn't know what that meant. And that's where the ambiguity, you know, where it was like, where's my heart? How do I want to make a difference in a different way? And that's where I ended up getting a book deal with Simon & Schuster, Atria Books. And I wrote my book called Take the Lead. And that changed my life to go into a direction of working in corporate America. And I started speaking around corporate America, around Take the Lead. And my book basically says that what I'm saying in my book is that leadership creates a feeling. When people feel valued and included and heard and part of something bigger than themselves, they are their most productive selves. And so many companies are really struggling with lack of engagement. And the statistic, which is so fascinating to me, is that 70% of American workers are not engaged in the workplace. So only 30%, right? Amazing. So why is that? And we spend $2 billion a year on leadership development programs. So maybe we're teaching the wrong things. And maybe we should teach people to be more conscious of how the people around them feel. I always say people don't leave a company, they leave a boss.
That's very true.
So that's been the last several years. My passion has been out working with companies, speaking at conferences around the issues of my book, and then also running the Center for Women in Business at Bentley University in Waltham, which, you know, it's hard to believe in 2015 that women are still make up such a small percentage of corporate America. But it all ties back together with my book, because why do women leave? They don't feel valued.
Right.
They don't see they can get to the top. They don't feel heard. They don't feel they can do both. Their home and work life can't be integrated. And so it really all kind of works together. And so that's my life today. And I just, I'm really excited about the work that I'm doing. And I kind of have the passion you were talking about for, you know, this work around leadership and women and the future of business.
Well, that's pretty obvious that you do. So tell me a little bit more about the center there. What is it that you do there?
So Bentley University is a business university, and it's been here around for almost 100 years. 2017 will be the 100-year anniversary, but originally it was the School for Accounting. And so now it is a university, and we our students come here who want to get into business, finance, accounting, marketing. But we also, what's interesting and unique about Bentley is that it integrates with other part of what's important in academia, which is the writing and history and psychology. So it's not just business, it's how do we integrate liberal arts into the business curriculum.
You know, I used to live up there, and that's what I remember about Bentley is the writing and the humanities part of it.
Yes, the humanities part. Yes, that's what makes us very unique here. So what happened was that our president here, Gloria Larson, is the first woman in 100 years. And when she got here, a lot of the businesses, because 98% of our kids this past year left the university when they graduated with a job.
Wow.
So we have an amazing career services center here and amazing companies like all the accounting firms, PwC and E&Y and Deloitte, who recruit heavily out of here. And so they were telling Gloria, wow, you know, we don't need to know the why anymore around women. We need to know the how. And so she had the dream to create this center that would be, let's stop talking about this and let's stop, you know, conversation and move to action. So this center is very simply, the mission is, imagine a world where women no longer make up a small percentage of corporate America. And 2, how do we work with companies to provide action steps for how they can support, retain, promote, and advance women in the workplace?
Ooh, I got goosebumps on that. That's a great mission. Wow.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
And last year we partnered with our governor here and to create the governor's initiative to advance women in the workplace. So the corporate challenge, and we have 115 companies that signed up to get to more, and they chose 1 of 5 areas. So get to more women in the C-suite, get to more women on the boards, better recruiting, better retention, address the wage gap. And so we've created this amazing initiative here that we're very, very excited with, because we want it to be just more than a conference. Conferences are great they have a certain purpose, but just having a conference, we really wanted to develop relationships with companies over several years, and then how they can share with each other. So peer exchanges. So they get together and say, wow, let's talk about men in partnership to advance women, or how do we hold people accountable, or gender intelligence. What have we learned? Or starting a women's leadership affinity groups. And should we even have that anymore? Should it be balanced and integrated with men? So those kinds of peer exchanges where the CEOs of the company that hosts the peer exchange shows up. So, you know, it's really becoming now, the CEOs, you're seeing more and more saying, you know what, I thought I was supportive, but you know, I created a gender position, or I gave money for a conference and I showed up and gave remarks, but I wasn't deeply engaged. And so you're seeing this shift going on, because we can't do it anymore. We just have women's organizations or women's leadership initiatives off to the side. It has to be integrated. And men, you know, CEOs say, unless you're living under a rock, the workforce has changed and the customers changed. And we need to have our company workforce, you know, represent what the world is today. And we need to do a better job of that.
Well, that's fabulous. Well, Betsy, I think you're a wonderful example, a living, breathing example of a woman who is following her passion, and to these young women that are coming through. So kudos to you for that.
Yeah, because, you know, at a place like Bentley, why do we care about this, a university? Because we want to create workplaces where our students and our graduates can succeed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's right. So it goes both ways.
Yep, absolutely. So I really like what you were talking about, those times of ambiguity, because all of us go through that. I know myself when, before I started the Superbwoman, I always give myself the gift of time, where I take the time to observe, and to observe what's going on around me, what's going on in the world, what's going on within me. And that's when I allow ideas to come. And it sounds like you gave yourself that gift as well. The one time going back to school, and then when you wrote your book.
Yes.
And the other thing is this whole notion about shoulds, that, you know, my experience has been that women who are superb women, who are comfortable in their own skin, have learned to let go of the should. So what's an example of a should that you have learned to let go of?
So, it's interesting because the shoulds, I think, are what make us unhappy. And we kind of have these shoulds. And it's like, well, I should be climbing the ladder, or I should be, whatever it is that is to you. And so because I always thought to myself, sometimes in my Washington days, I would look and I would think to myself, where are people trying to get to? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, where are they climbing to?
Right.
And part of that's such an individual thing. But I
Mm-hmm.
think where we get lost sometimes in the shoulds is that we say yes to so many things. We're so I say we live an inbox life. So things are coming at us. And I really learned this in the Obama campaign because one of the things people forget is in 2007 how President Obama had less than 10% name recognition. He had no supporters, not a member of Congress, not an advocacy group. And we got into this campaign in 2007. No one thought he could win. And I always tell people, no matter however you feel about the president, because that ebbs and flows in political times, you still have to be curious about how he won. Because I always say leadership is about getting results. So how did he go from 10% name recognition to being the first African-American president in those short 20 months?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I learned was that in 2007, we were super focused. And David Plouffe, the campaign manager, the strategy that we had was winning Iowa. Because as the first caucus state, Iowa, the belief was in our campaign that if we won Iowa, we were really in the game. And if we came in second or third, there was trouble ahead. And so everything we did in 2007 was about winning Iowa. And so how did that translate? Well, we put 50 offices across the state. No campaign had more than about 15. We put several $1 million there. We put 250 young organizers who were organized. It was a very structured and organized. There's 99 counties in Iowa, and then Senator Obama went to every county. So we were and every day David Plouffe would say, what are you doing today to help us win Iowa? And at the same time, as the campaign was growing and we were getting more donors and more supporters, there was a lot of noise, as there is in our lives, right? A lot of noise about what he should be doing, where he should be going, who he should be meeting with, that had absolutely nothing to do with Iowa. And so Plouffe would always say, what does this have to do with winning Iowa? So we stayed very focused, and it's the same in our own lives, right? It's like, what is all of this noise and all this activity? We forget sometimes that activity does not mean progress.
Absolutely.
And so what happened then, what I learned was that this razor focus to Iowa on January 3rd, 2008, we won Iowa by 9 points. And so not only were we in the game, I mean, we were really in the game.
Right.
And, several $1 million flowed into the campaign that evening. And all of a sudden, people who were either uncomfortable with the direction we were going or didn't think he could win, all of a sudden they realized that Barack Obama was, a formidable candidate and in the game. So I always ask people, do you know what your Iowa is? Do you have clarity? Where do you want to get to? And are you doing the things that help you get there? A lot of us find ourselves, I always say, are you doing the A activities? And once you're clear about what matters in your life, and then you say, well, does the activity that I'm doing help me move forward the areas in my life that matter to me? So I always say, for me, I've gotten very good at this. I mean, it's always a process. You're never 100% great, but I've gotten good. I know what matters to me. My family, my husband, my daughter, we have dogs, and my family, parents and sisters, and then my work of my book and my leadership work, and then the book, and then my work at Bentley. So everything that comes into me, I say, does this activity, this invitation, does it help me move one of these areas forward? Is it an A? And if it's not, sometimes you just want to do something, but for the majority of the time, you have to start to say, you know what? I can't do that. And the other thing I've learned about being a woman in life is that it's so hard for us to say no. Right. And so someone will say, can you speak here? Can you go to this event? Can you go to this dinner? And our natural inclination is to say, of course. And then we get back home or into our office and said, oh my God, I said yes to that. And I really don't want to do that. And it's actually not an A or a B, it's a D.
Right.
but we've already said yes. So now what I recommend people do is say, you know what, can I think about that? Or, you know what, let me get back to you. Let me see if my schedule permits. And then you get back and you can regroup and say, is that something I would like to do? And here's the other thing, that we have so much guilt as women. And I always tell women, you know, you get back to the person, you say, I'm so sorry, but my schedule doesn't permit it. I have another obligation. That obligation could be having dinner with your family. That obligation can be going to a yoga class, right? It doesn't have to be, we don't need to be every minute chock full. That's where you're talking about, right? The superwoman.
Absolutely.
Yes. So that's when you start living in an out box, right? You're living you create the life, and you create space in your life to go for your dreams because you're able to say no to some of the noise.
Absolutely. Oh, see, again, you're speaking my language here.
Yes.
And I'm very grateful that you said yes to me.
So you know what, this show is a perfect example, right, of an invitation. Yeah. And so that I did think about it. You know, this is a Sunday night. My family is waiting for me for dinner. Right. So you think about, but this show and you supporting a woman business owner, supporting an issue around women in leadership. And it's, also supports the getting the word out about my book and the work we're doing here at Bentley. So it fit into, that was something that I wanted to do. And I also, part of what my work is about is supporting other women, that are doing great things. So that's, so being on your show was partly for me, was also supporting you. And that's an A.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. So tell me, Betsy, we cannot do this ourselves. So who has helped you on your path?
I've had so many people that have believed in me. I mean, from my childhood, I had a very successful father, a businessman, and who worked for Lockheed Aircraft. And so I got from him the never give up. If you sign up to do it, go, you do it. Don't do what you say you're going to do. Resilient, be tough, go, lean in. And then I got from my mother more the feminine side, which was, you're terrific. I felt loved. I felt safe. So I think from them, I kind of got this interesting balance of the masculine and feminine in my life. And, now in my life, I would tell you that the biggest supporter of my life is my husband, Rob. And, he is we're a team when it comes to our family. And he's very much involved in the life of my daughter. And he's currently working out of our house as he's starting a new business. So he's very much, right in there with everything around our daughter, our house, our animals, just supporting me, so I think that's really been a critical part of able to go, like I could come to my office tonight to do this with you because he's at home with our daughter. And so those kinds of things, I feel very fortunate about that, to have that support.
Excellent. And that's so important. I mean, that just ties into everything you're just talking about.
Yes.
So what's next for you?
So what's next is another book.
Yay.
So I'm thinking about and working on another book around the integration of the masculine, feminine, or the head and the heart. That what I'm kind of noodling around is that I think in today's world, the leaders, take away gender, just the leader, whether a man or a woman, how we show up as a caring leader. The masculine or the head is the strategy, the focus, where we're going, and the feminine heart is what gets other people to want to come along. And when you look at leaders today, if you look at Pope Francis, or you look at Mary Barra, who's the CEO of GM, and it doesn't have to do with they're a man or a woman. They are examples of people who are in balance in their leadership. And so I'm very interested, and remove just the gender aspect of that, how do we show up in today's world? And so that's what I'm looking at for my next book.
Fabulous. Fabulous. Well, we'll look forward to seeing that. I'm sure that'll be out in a year or two.
Yes.
Excellent.
I hope so.
We'll put the good vibes out there.
Yes, exactly.
Excellent. Well, unfortunately, we are out of time already, but I just want to thank you so much, Betsy, for being my guest tonight. And for those of you watching on YouTube, stay tuned. At the end here, you're going to see the contact information for Betsy. And please go get her book. Fabulous book on leadership. Tell us the name one more time.
Take the Lead, How to Motivate Yourself and Everyone Around You. You can get it on Amazon and also on through my website, betsymyers.com.
Excellent. Well, thank you again, Betsy.
Thank you so much, Janet. Thanks for doing this show and supporting this whole, issue about women and leadership and superwomen.
Superb women.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, thanks. So for those of you who joined us, thank you so much. As I said, this is our last show of this season, but don't fret. We're taking the summer off because I totally believe in balance. And stay tuned for the fall. But go to my website at thesuperbwoman.com and you'll find out all the exciting things that we're doing, the coaching opportunities that are there, the speaking engagements that I'll be doing around the country. And until then, have a superb summer, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the fall. Take care.